Hello epic viewers from around the multiverse, prepare to bask in unprecedented glory, because today I'm going to be shedding light on the reasons why it is better to be broke than indebted. And I'm going to demystify any inquiries that you may have relegated to the bowels of your mind. So you may be thinking, being broke is an abysmal, dreary, drab, depressing state of being. On the other hand, being indebted may seem more luxurious. It may seem more that sounded terrible. Hello epic viewers from around the multiverse, prepare to bask in unprecedented glory, because today I'm going to be shedding light on the reasons why it is better to be broke than indebted. You may be thinking that both bear dreary, drab, depressing, abysmal, bleak, grim outcomes. However, I can assure you that one is far worse than the other. When you're broke, it's no joke, but at least you have purview, jurisdiction, and imperium over your time. You have latitude for discretion over your lifestyle. So, when you're broke, you can control your time. That's a plus. The downside is you have no money. Now, if you can indulge in the accoutrements of a higher life at the cost of being indebted, it may seem better. You may give off the facade of having a better life, but in reality, in the long haul, it's actually going to be far worse than being broke. Because when you're broke, you don't have to pay back any debt. When you're indebted, you have a negative net worth. Not only do you have to pay back the principal of every penny borrowed, you also have to pay interest on top of the principal, and the interest accrues in the principal each and every day, and it becomes an insurmountable, inextricable burden that cannot easily be rectified. So how do you get out of debt? You work, and this is why you have no control over your time. You have to succumb to any demands employers foist upon you. And your foray into the workforce will not be a pretty one, because you'll be doing something that you likely detest and disdain. Furthermore, when you're indebted, you won't be able to control when you eat, when you sleep, and you could kiss any modicum of happiness you had left, because your spare time will become your employer's time. It will siphon away your dignity, wealth, happiness, and time when you're indebted. And all you have in the simulation is time. So, it will also pervade other areas of your life. You'll be incessantly working, and the money you do get will be earmarked towards paying down the debt. So, no more investment opportunities. Kiss those goodbye. No more future prospects. Kiss those goodbye. And you'll never be able to have a grandiose lifestyle in the long haul. A lifestyle of affluence, abundance, when you're indebted. So besides you not being able to control your time, or invest, or sleep when you want, or eat when you want, or de-stress yourself when need be, your life will just become a life of indentured servitude. and one in which outcome is bleak. So being broke is far superior than being indebted, because once you can't control your time, you lose everything. I hope that you found this video to be intriguing. Have a wonderful, blissful day. Goodbye. Hello, epic viewers from around the multiverse. Prepare to bask in unprecedented glory, because today I'm going to be shedding light on the reasons why it is always better to be broke than indebted. I'm going to demystify any inquiries that you'd relegated to the bowels of your mind, and I'm going to dispel your curiosity of why debt is so detrimental. When you're broke, it's no joke. You may say that both financial states, one in which you have a negative net worth and one in which you have no wealth, culminates in creating a bleak, dreary, drab, grim, abysmal, egregious, appalling, abhorrent, detestable, unbearable lifestyle in which you live in squalor. And it may seem that being indebted could have a better outcome in the short haul, but don't be fooled by the fake facade. Someone may be flamboyant, ostentatious, they may flaunt their material possessions, but they came at a cost, and that cost needs to be paid. You exchange your finite, sacrosanct, indispensable, non-replenishable time for material possessions and services, and all you have in the simulation is your time. It's your utmost valuable commodity, which people undervalue. But even if everything may seem hunky-dory in the short haul, it will bear adverse effects in the long haul, because when you're financing possessions and services via debt financing, you're going to have to pay it back in the future, and you're mortgaging away your time, happiness, dignity, and wealth. Furthermore, by being in debt, you won't be able to invest towards growing wealth in the future, towards buying income-generating assets such as index funds and mutual funds and bonds. The debt will grow to an unprecedented height. You couldn't pay back the principal, so how the hell are you going to pay back the interest compounded into the principal? It's a recipe for disaster. The interest accrues in the principal each and every day, and your net worth further plunges into the abyss to no end. It's an insurmountable, inextricable issue that has no real remedy other than working your shell off for the prospect of paying off the debt. But you'll likely be working dead-end jobs that induce agony, misery, and drudgery. You'll succumb to your doldrums and realize that you have no latitude for discretion, no imperium, no jurisdiction over your time, which in turn culminates when you get in no sleep, not being able to eat adequately because you can't earmark enough time towards eating nutrient-dense foods, and you have no spare time, no time to de-stress yourself, no time to alleviate stress, because your time is earmarked towards working dead-end jobs that pay you fiat currency that you're preordained to get extorted out of in the forms of in the form of 8 different types of income tax. There's over 13,000 taxes, and they truly deter you and disincentivize you from working because you're penalized for being productive, but that's a story for another day. Now, when you're broke, your time is your own. You have discretion over your time. On your own accord, you can do whatever the show you want, whereas when you're indebted, you are beholden to your creditors. You become their indentured servant. You become enslaved to your employers, and whenever they foist their demands upon you, you have to concede, you have to make concessions to blindly obeying them. You become their myrmidon, their pawn, their puppet, their marionette, and they're the Svengalis pulling the strings. However, when you're broke, all your money is purely profitable, with the exception of the money that you get extorted out of in the 8 forms of income tax. And you could invest in buying income generating assets so that in the future you could have a more laxed, less stressful, less overwhelming, less burdensome lifestyle. But debt is a burden that drains your time, drains your happiness, drains your wealth, and pervades every facet of your life. If you don't have any spare time, you can't watch anime, you can't play sports. If your sleep time is allocated towards working, you don't get sufficient REM sleep. If your eating time is allocated towards working, you can't eat properly. This leads to health issues. This leads to shaving off decades of your life in the simulation. This leads to your telomeres shrinking and your chromosomes becoming unravaged, every organ in your body becoming compromised, and your vessel becoming dilapidated, tattered, worn out, and functioning non-optimally. But when you're broke, you have the opportunity to grow your wealth over time. You have the opportunity to save, to invest. You have the opportunity to sleep when you want, eat when you want. And you don't have this burden. You're not beholden to anyone. And you can just indulge in enjoying your life and not be strong-armed into having to repay others' interest, plus the principal on the money that was lent to you. So don't go to school for 3 decades, don't indebt yourself over anything, minimize your costs, and do everything in your purview to maximize your income. There's plenty of activities that are engrossing and that cost little to no money. So I hope that you found this video to be insightful and enthralling. The difference between being broke and being indebted is astronomical, and the primary reasons why it's better to be broke than indebted encompass the following. When you're broke, you have purview over your time, and you have the prospect of buying income generating assets, and you could maximize your lifespan when you come into possession of a little bit of money that you earned. When you're indebted, it will shave off decades of your life. You won't be able to get proper REM sleep, nor eat properly, nor exercise properly, due to not having any purview of your time. You're beholden to your creditors. You can't invest because the money that you make from your investments will more than likely never outweigh the interest rate you're paying on your debt. So it's just a recipe for disaster. Circumvent becoming indebted. No degree is worse the cost of debt and the opportunity of going to cost. The opportunity cost of going to school is too lofty, it's too exorbitant. Not only do you forgo decades in the workforce, but you also wind up indebting yourself, and you have nothing to show for it but worthless pieces of paper. I don't mean diddly in the workforce. You will still start out at the bottom of the totem pole, irrespective of how credentialed and educated you are and how much knowledge and work experience you possess. It's ridiculous and asinine, but it is what it is. I hope that you found this video to be intriguing and bedazzling. Have a wonderful, blissful day, and may you all be blessed in perpetuity. Goodbye and good night, and farewell, and so long. Sayonara.